Hello, happy Thursday, everybody. It's Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. I got 2 bottles of bourbon here, and boy, am I going to need them after this opening day at Saratoga. I did not have a great day betting, but I didn't go to work today. I had a day off, so I think a day losing while not working is a better day than being at work. Someone who did go to work today, even though it does say volunteer on his shirt, he did go to work. Mr. Caleb Knight. Caleb, how was the office?
You said it earlier. A bad day at the races is better than a good day at the office. So I think that's really all that needs to be said there. I'm happy for Saratoga, though. That's pretty exciting.
You didn't play much today, did you?
I didn't play at all today, no.
Yeah.
I watched the replay of the Schuylerville, and that's about it.
Oh, well, I'm happy for you, or I'm sad that happened. I don't know, one of the two.
There's plenty of days. Saratoga is a marathon, not a sprint.
I was contractually obligated to remind you. Let me see if I can pull up the exact date. Here we go. Okay, on 4/16/2022, you said, and I quote, "Never let me skip a pick 5 again." So I just want to make sure that you know, pick 5s may have been skipped. So just maybe something to think about for tomorrow.
That's right. You can't hit if you don't play.
Mark is actually was on site today, so he did not join us. He's busy entertaining track guests. But I did want to bring in our featured guest for the night, Mr. Nick Feldman. How are you doing, Nick?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good as always. I know you're a long-time contributor to the chat, and you'd said that you'd like to come on for a stream, so we got you out of the bullpen.
Yeah, that's great. I was telling Caleb, I was like, it's like the old school radio days where you'd call in and say I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. So this is that version of that. Excited to be here, and I did bring a special bourbon, so it's Buffalo Trace, but it's a barrel pick that I did myself. So excited to crack that for this evening.
Now, are you part of like a bourbon group, or did you literally buy the entire barrel yourself?
If you bought the barrel, then we need to talk after this.
No, I happen to have some good friends. I knew an owner of a liquor store who sold a lot of Buffalo Trace products. And I live in California now, but I used to live in northern Kentucky, right outside of Cincinnati, right there in the edge of bourbon country. And so I was lucky enough to get down to go to Buffalo Trace on a private barrel tasting. So we did Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, and Antique 107.
Oh, nice. Antique 107, man. That one I have yet to see.
Tubes.
Yeah, I haven't seen a bottle of it. I've never seen a bottle of it. I was lucky enough that friend of the show, Joe Marcello, he's usually in here in chat. He was like, "Hey, do you want me to get this for you?" I was like, "Yes." And he sent it to me, and then he's like, "Don't worry about it. We're just let's go 50-50 on some pick 5s." And I got the better end of the deal because we sure as heck didn't cash any of those tickets. Yeah, so shout out to Joe Marcello for muling me a bottle of 107. And it was funny, we were talking about Eagle Rare earlier today, and I have something that's I guess Buffalo Trace adjacent. I have a 1792 foolproof pick. So I forget how they're related, right? It's like the same like parent company, I think. Right, Barton.
I don't know that.
I know
Yeah,
Barton.
I'm sure.
There's some nonsense there. I think they're kind of related in some way, shape, or
form.
Is
it Sazerac? That's who owns Buffalo Trace, I think.
I forget who owns it. Barton now. Barton 1792. But this is good stuff. I'm not a fan of regular 1792. there's just like this weird aftertaste in it that is just like I used to like, and then like I got like my second or third bottle of it, and it was just like I don't know, it was weird. But this foolproof is nice. So
Yeah, I've had a couple store picks of foolproof down here, and it's good. I'm
but I'll
working
tell
on
you.
some barrel
Oh, go
proof,
ahead.
Logic Craig barrel proof over here, so
There
it's
you
always
go.
a solid pick. For $60, you can't beat it, I don't think.
Yeah, what's funny is, Caleb and I we play video games during the week. We'll play like League of Legends or Rainbow Six or whatever. And we're on Discord, and we're pouring stuff. And like there was probably like 2 weeks where I didn't have a single like pour of barrel proof. That first pour of barrel proof after you haven't been drinking like high proof stuff, like you've just been drinking scotch, like that hits you in the face.
It
So
does. It does. Especially those 120s. They pull their weight.
yeah. But yeah, we were going to go ahead and take a look at Saratoga's Saturday card. There really wasn't much from today. Talk about there's a pick six carry tomorrow, so I'll be playing that. But there was I don't know. I didn't pay super close attention to the races. I capped everything last night. I was telling Nick before the stream. I basically was out of the house in the park and just would like check on my tickets every once in a while. Oh, I'm dead. Let me throw in the pick four. And after I was down to the double, I realized that maybe it was not going to be my day. So I eased up a little bit after that. But Nick, you said that you had a couple of you had a nice double there at some point today.
Yeah, I hit a win bet on Saez to begin the day, so that was nice. And then I hit the double from races 7 and 8. Castellano got back-to-back wins for me, which rarely happens. And shout out to Castellano also being the leading the meet right now with 3 wins. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if Castellano wins three races in a day, I'm probably not cashing any pick fives. He's or pick fours, probably or pick three. I mean, I might not be cashing anything. No, I mean Castellano's fine, but he's definitely. I want to say he's not the same as he was, even like 3 or 4 years ago, but I'm sure he's gonna get his. So. But yeah, why don't we take a look here? We got first race of the sequence, race 7. We got a 7 furlong, 3-year-old and up dirt race here, optional claimer. We got a nice full field, but even with the full field, we do have just I don't know, probably one of the best sprinters going right now in the 5 reinvestment risk here is 3 to 5 in the book. Yeah, I mean, Baby Yoda's in here, but I think we already know what Baby Yoda is. So I don't know. I had a hard time getting around reinvestment risk in this spot. It's not really. I don't really have anything creative to say. I don't have any. I don't know. I got nothing. Caleb, you got anything different here? Are you going a different way here from reinvestment risk?
I'm not really trying to beat reinvestment risk. I'm not trying too hard to beat him, I guess. He's the best horse in the field. And if he shows up with pretty much any of the efforts we've seen him run out, at least around one turn, then he's going to be a handful for most of this field. If at first glance, the record might not seem great, 2 of 8 with 4 second places, but 3 of those 4 second places came to Jackie's Warrior, and the remainder came against Speaker's Corner. So there's no shame in that whatsoever. I think he's just definitely the class of the field. I guess my initial perception of this race was that it felt like there wasn't a ton of speed in this race for a sprint. I thought probably the 7 might get the lead, perhaps maybe the 8 if they try to get aggressive. I just don't know if he's fast enough. But if you look at reinvestment risk, he's a horse that has the ability to be pretty close. He probably sits no worse than 3rd in this field. So I had a hard time getting around him. He's going to be a single in most of my wagers, maybe one small ticket using some of the cheap speed in case somebody gets away. But I think reinvestment risk is definitely the horse here.
Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't have any. I don't have a lot to add. Reinvestment risk to me looked like a complete standout. Caleb kind of hit the nail on the head there, where if you remove Jackie's Warrior speakers and a 2-turn race in a long layoff, he's 2-0 with some big wins at Saratoga. So I would probably single in this spot. But if I was going to just kind of be curious or try to think, Baby Yoda, his 2 appearances at Saratoga last year, kind of a horse for course. On Brisnet, he had 2 triple-digit speed figures, and with Rosario getting back on, this horse is he's raced against Flightline before. I feel like he's a horse that just, if he pops back to his Saratoga form, I mean, he could also kind of maybe steal this race as well. But I didn't really think anyone else was that tough. I've bet some of these horses before in other races, and I just think reinvestment risk is he should sit a great trip and win this race. So
I'm glad you actually brought up Baby Yoda because that's a horse that I kind of looked at for the same reasons you did with the Saratoga angle. And it's like, I find myself wondering, like, is that allowance race at Saratoga on September 4th just, I mean, the speed figures came back just incredible on any set of figures that you look at. And then I don't think the figure was bad because we all saw what Olympiad has gone on to do. I mean, he's one of the leading horses in the older male dirt division right now. Ducal is a nice sprinter in his own right. So I don't think it's a bad fig necessarily, but what happened to Baby Yoda after that? Is he really just a one-dimensional Saratoga kind of horse? I had a hard time getting a grip on what to do with him. I mean, even the way he's been spotted by the connections here. I mean, just looking at the fact that they throw him from a grade 1 at Santa Anita to a $10,000 starter allowance. They tried sending him to Mahoning Valley. It's just the way this horse has been brought along just baffles me. Like, I don't know where those races came from, but I agree with you that he's the only horse that's ever shown a fast enough race to compete with reinvestment risk. And he's a hard horse for me to get a handle on.
Yeah, I don't know. I looked at that same thing, the 2 Saratoga figures, but man, like, hasn't really done much running. And then, Bill Mott, I think, is, if he thought he had something, I don't think he would be afraid to put this horse in stakes races and, those kind of allowance races, spots that he was kind of spotting them to start the year. I don't know. I have a hard time getting there. I just think that this horse isn't in the same league as reinvestment risk. So I'm going to kind of fade. And I think if I were to try and make money in this race outside of like just trying to play this horizontally, I think I might take a look at the 1 underneath, Disco Faro. This horse has come off the pace and is going to be sitting. I think is going to be sitting a pretty decent trip here. Was the favorite last time and didn't do any running. So did get bumped a little bit at the break. I don't know how bad the trouble is. I haven't gone back and watched the race. But if you look at the notes, has had a little bit of trouble in the last 2 out. That does give you a little cause for concern just because of maybe this is a horse that's going to find trouble. Maybe this is just Tacitus all over again. But I don't know. I'm going to take a look to see what the exacta pays with Disco Faro in second, and maybe try and toss out the 8 horse Baby Yoda, or the 9 horse, sorry, and kind of get like a 5-1 straight exacta there.
If looking at this race from a vertical standpoint, I think another horse to think about underneath is the 3 horse Fitzpatrick. Last time at 7 furlongs on Brisnet had a 97 speed closed, and he's got 6 career second places out of 20 races. He just feels like a horse that I think reinvestment risk might run some of these off their feet. And when some horses are quitting, I think Fitzpatrick with Carmouche at a huge price could maybe fly up late and maybe get that just nice second place for an exacta.
Well, Nick, I'm telling you right now, you're doing a good job because Caleb has not shit all over what you're saying like he normally does with Mark and Brian. So
Well, I mean, yeah, it's hard to ship him a 30-1. But
uh,
yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to make money here, I think you have to either single reinvestment risk or toss him horizontally. And vertically, I mean, I think you play him over top of your favorite long shot. I see Jay kind of likes the 8 horse Sibelius. I mean, I probably think the 7 is a little faster coming out of those sprint races, whereas the 8's been running in a couple of routes lately. So I'm not sure I would say the 8's lone speed, but I could see the 8 getting loose. One of the 7 or the 8 is almost assuredly going to be your leader. So yeah, I mean, if you think a horse like that gets loose and then has a chance to steal it or at least holds on for second, I think that's a decent exacta. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of ways to go here. The 6 is probably the horse I'm looking to use underneath. I think he's had 2 excuses in his last 2 starts where he broke a rein last time out in a race that came back pretty lively with the first and third place horse coming back to win. And then 2 back, he caught a sloppy track, which he just does not handle whatsoever. He's the kind of mid-pack closer I think might be able to slide in underneath and can't win, I don't think, but can probably get a piece.
oh, hey, look at that! He was in the race that Chateau finished second. What a surprise! Chateau and finishing second.
That's right.
All right, I see PDT's in the house. What's up, PDT? And I feel like we should move on to race 8 before Steven gets on us for spending 17 minutes on a 1-horse race. So the Diana going a mile and 1/8 on the turf here. This is usually the big G1 opening weekend. I think Chad's got 3 in here.
He's got 4.
Oh, he's got 4.
4 of 7. Peter Brandt has 3.
Oh, okay.
Well, thank God for Chad, or this race wouldn't have run.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I remember the first time I went to Saratoga. This was a 5-horse race, I think, and Chad had Sister Charlie. He had, who was the speed horse? Rushing Fall, I think, was in there too, and there's this French horse that ran like one good race and then just like never showed up again, and I forgot what it was. But I bet
think
the
it
French
was,
horse.
It was Sister Charlie's rabbit. Usually, we always showed up.
No, not Thace. It wasn't
Thace or
Thace.
Tace, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'll have to look it up, but it was some stupid French horse. And I remember Naira had a thing where like you could bet, like if you bet $100, I think they gave you like a $20 bonus or $25 bonus. And so I was just going to bet $100 on Sister Charlie because she ended up going off at like 6 or 7 to 5. And I was like, oh, I should just do that. But then I'm like, or I bet the longest Chad, that French horse. And, we're going to really get there. And yeah, that did not end up well for me. But yeah, Bleecker Street's going to be your 6 to 5 favorite here, coming off that win in the New York. Nick, why don't you take this for us? How you kind of see this race?
So I think like Bleecker Street is obviously kind of like an A for me. I just really think that her last 2 races, she has shown that she can close into some slow paces. She looks to be in really good form. I think comments that Chad's made, she's kind of surprised him. And she's raced against a couple. She, last time out, she beat her stablemate here with Pratt. So I just think like if for whatever reason if this pace does heat up with technical analysis and Delica and in Italian, I'm confident that she's going to be the one that kind of closes them all down. But I'm kind of feeling like my top pick is going to be the 6 horse in Italian. And I love that she's kind of the new shooter. So she's coming from the Regal Glory race, and Regal Glory to me right now might be Chad Brown's best horse. And she's bred to run longer. She's been at the mile. So I think she's the speed of the speed. We get Rosario. He's 26% on E horses. So I just think I guess I'm going to look at this race as I want the horse who's in first, and I want the horse who's going to close it down. So that's kind of how I saw this race. For me, in these type of races, you kind of have to take a stand of some sort. So for me, I'm taking a 2-horse stand with the 6 and the 3.
Yeah, I have a hard time getting around Bleecker Street in this spot. you know, you see the two kind of speed horses in technical analysis in Italian, also with Dalika in the race, and you know Dalika is just going to go. I mean that's the only way that the horse has won. And I thought actually Dalika ran a really big race in that mint julep at Churchill. Almost held on, you know, kind of like I mean held the lead for as long as I think she could, and then you know got passed by Gam's Mission. But what's very important to note about Dalika is Churchill Downs turf races were all basically won by outside closers. So I think you even move that race up even more, just based off of the bias. Um, I don't know what to do with that information, right? Because I think Bleecker Street is just I think is gonna be fine, and I think that if Dalika gets out, like she's not going to be able to set any type of soft fractions. Like she's going to have to set very honest fractions because there's no way that neither the one or your horse, Nick, the 6, are going to let the 5 get away with murder on the front end. So it's unfortunate that she shows up in this spot because I really think that Dalika is sitting on the big race, but I mean, with the other speeds in here, I just think that it's going to be compromised too much. I was a little interested in the 1, but like I said, with like you're gonna need Dalika to scratch out. I think in order for you to even like look at either the Chad speed horses, because like she's got to go, and of course I say that, and none of these horses are going to go, but. I don't know. I feel like when Chad's got a couple in there, like one of them always at least sets some kind of pace. So I don't think anyone's going to really waltz on the front end here. So I end up on a 3. I really want to make a case for this 5, and maybe I use as a C in some way, shape, or form, or I use underneath. But I really think that the 3 is going to be really hard to beat here. Caleb.
Yeah, so PDT has a comment in chat, and I feel personally attacked. Raise your hand. You ever try to beat Bleecker Street in every single race? And yes, every single time. She has 7 for 7, and I have been against her in basically every race, at least every race that I've bet that she was in. And if she goes 8 for 8, then I'm going to go 0 for 8 because I'm not going to be on Bleecker Street here either.
Now, Caleb, real quick, I just want to know, is this the reason why you've tried to beat her every time?
The fact that I've always been against her?
No, is this why you've tried to beat her every time? Because I see a Monmouth, and then I see a Meadowlands.
The Monmouth Tampa was like kind of why I was against her in her last 2 starts, but it's also the fact that she just hasn't run that fast. Like on any set of figures, I've looked at, whether it's Brisnet or Thoroughgraphs or Timeform, she's like a fringe contender, somewhere in the 3rd, maybe like 4th fastest horse in this race. She has wins and she likes to win. And sometimes you get these horses that are win machines that don't necessarily put up the flashy numbers while doing so. And maybe that's Bleecker Street. I mean, she won the Grade 1 last time out while not even going off as the favorite. I thought the New York was an incredibly weak Grade 1 last time. I mean, Family Way, Flighty Lady, Virginia Joy. It was basically 4 Chad Brown horses, including Rogier, who did not show up at all. And then Family Way for the Brendan Walsh barn. So I thought that was a terrible Grade 1. And then the modesty, Josh, you kind of covered it with how biased that Churchill turf course has been really all meet up until the point where they just couldn't run turf races anymore. At that outside closer is just absolutely dominated. And, I think she was kind of flattered by the track profile there as well. So, yeah, I think Bleecker, my opinion here is actually more against 2 horses than it is for any particular horse. I'm against Bleecker Street for kind of all the reasons I mentioned. On figures, she just hasn't run that fast. And, yeah, I think that she's going to get bet off the board. Finally, she's going to get bet off the board. And I'm against Rogier, who I thought had less than no excuse last time in a race where she went off as a heavy 3-5 favorite. I never really thought she was that amazing. I mean, I know she won the Prix de l'Opera in Longchamp, but I don't think Yeah, she had a trouble trip in the Breeders' Cup, so okay. I mean, maybe you give her a break. But I really think this is a filly that needs a bit of a cut in the ground. She beat basically less than nobody in the Vogue, and then I think she got maybe exposed a little bit in the New York. I mean, clearly Chad Brown still has confidence because he throws her back into a Grade One here, and she should get a good pace setup. But my real opinions here are as the likely top two choices in this race. I'm going to be against both of them, and I'm actually going to take the remaining four. I recognize I'm taking like three speed horses that have a chance to duel each other into submission. I can't imagine that Chad Brown is going to allow technical analysis and an Italian to go out there and beat each other's brains in. I just don't think it's going to happen. My guess is an Italian goes. I would guess technical analysis maybe sits just off a little bit because she does have a few wins coming from off the pace. So I'm going to use both of them. Josh, I'm using Delica for all the reasons you talked about. I think that she ran a much better than it looks race last time out. I'm not really sure if she's good enough given the pace setup here, but at the longest price on the board, I'll pay to find out. And then Creative Flair, and I'll be the first one to admit that any other connections, and this horse probably doesn't make my ticket, but I'm not going to let Charlie Appleby and Godolphin beat me at 8-1 in a race where she should get a favorable pace setup for a guy that just absolutely dominated North America stakes racing on the turf in the last 2 years. So, yeah, I'm taking the outside four choices and letting the top two beat me here.
Yeah, I mean, is Jamie Spencer really coming across for this horse too? I mean,
that's what it's listed. I mean, I haven't heard anything otherwise. But.
I mean, like, I tend to think that if the jock comes with, it usually means something. Because I mean, especially for Charlie Appleby, because he's got no problem using a local jock or calling up Mike Smith. I don't know why he's got no problem calling Mike Smith. If I was Charlie Appleby, I'd lose Mike Smith's number, but apparently he'll call Mike Smith. So, yeah, I don't know. I didn't really get, like I said, I didn't really give the two much look. But I think you make a compelling case, especially if you're against the two favorites in this spot. I did see someone actually ask, and I think you brought up a good point, Caleb, because I saw someone ask here talking about pick five strategy. Saturday here is talking specifically with like a budget of $60 to $100, and like kind of working within the budget is kind of tough. I think $60 to $100 is a healthy enough budget for a pick five. 95% of the time, if not more, without having to make like significant cuts. He's talking about specific structure or anything like that, but I think it's more about like what your opinion is and how to spend it. And I think Caleb makes a good point here. Like Caleb's against the two favorites, the 6-5 and 3-1. Okay, you're against the two favorites in the 6-horse field. Sure, use the other four, but like I think where you kind of get in trouble is when you start saying, I like the top three choices, and you use those in every single race. So I get like it's not like super great advice because there is no real set structure on what you should do. I mean, I always try to look for a single, but that doesn't mean that the single is always there. But if I'm using more than two horses, like I don't want to have the favorite unless, I don't know. I really do think it's like a super spread race. I don't know. Like you could set all these like rules and everything, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're using the top three choices in the race, and it makes sense to do it. Like it really is more of like an art, like structure. Structure is always hard to talk about. I don't know, Nick. Do you play a lot of pick fives, Nick? Are you like play every pick five every time, or?
I'm at a point now with my horse, I guess, betting career that I do try to play pick fives, and I've kind of graduated into that, and it's always a learning experience, and I'm learning every day. I would look at this sequence specifically and say that, in my opinion, I have a very strong opinion in the race before this as a single. And so to Caleb's point, if you're against Bleecker Street and you're against Rogier, who are going to take a lot of money, this is a great spot to get a single home and then beat another favorite with only four choices. 4x1 is only four. So if you go in theory, if you went 2x2, that's the same amount of money. So I think this is a great spot to take a chance and go by 4x1 and then see how the rest of the card plays out. And one thing I've learned with pick fives is that a pick 5 is the takeout is better than the pick 4, and just that one extra race is shocking how much better the payouts can be. For example, today, the late pick 5 at Saratoga paid $7,600. The pick 4 paid $92 for 50-cent ticket. And I know that the first leg was a $40 winner, but that's exactly the point where, I mean, just one extra leg with getting one price is that big of a difference. And I think the pick 5's a fun bet once you start to get to that point.
Yeah, and I know we've been meaning to do a video on structure. Like, I know Mark's got his ABC structure out there and video, and you can catch that on the YouTube channel. And that's like one way to go about it. Caleb plays more of kind of like a hybrid ABC. Like, he's not usually 100% like ABC structure. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. I basically am more of like a 2 to 4 ticket person with just presses involved, and so like it just depends on how you structure it. Now, if you're just playing for 50 cents, like I said, you'll be able to get it, for whatever. But I always try and hit it for more than once. I mean, it doesn't say that happens, but I usually at least put in a second ticket, even if it's only like an $8 ticket, right? That's another 50-cent ticket of just like, with 2 singles or something in there, just so that way you have a little bit of structure and coverage there. But
and I've graduated to the ABC system, I guess you'd say, to your point, is that if my best opinions hit on the day, I want to try to, I guess, crush that sequence because they only come around so often, and so by structuring with multiple kind of tickets where you have all your A's and B's, and there will be a day where you'll hit a $2 pick 5 with your A's, and it's going to make up for a lot of misses. So to think that you want to put the same amount of money on, let's say, 2 of your best opinions as maybe not your best opinions, I think is a mistake. So I agree with trying to press some of your better opinions.
Caleb, I know you love talking about structure.
No, I think you guys really, you made a bunch of good points. There's some good points in the chat. Friend of the show, Stephen Fox, obviously says that forcing a structure, a mold of a structure, sometimes can be worse than just cavemaning it completely, and I think that's very fair. I would never approach a sequence thinking I need to go 2 by 2 by 3 by 2 by 1, or thinking I have to have a single somewhere, or that it just depends what the race gives you, what your opinions are. And I think you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. Me personally, I usually like to have a single, but only because that allows me to go 6 deep somewhere else where I really think there's a chance for some calamity. And ideally, that single is not a favorite. I think if you can get away with singling a horse that's not the chalk, that can really be a way to differentiate yourself and set yourself up for some pretty big scores. Now, when you get a horse like Reinvestment Risk, when he looks that good, then sometimes you just take what the card gives you and you single him and move on. And that's fine too. So I think it's hard to really advocate for any specific structure, and you really have to just deal with it as the races come up one by one. But I agree. Yeah, you should be playing multiple tickets, and you should be weighting. Ideally, you should be weighting your bets, a little bit differently. With at least 2 or 3 tickets if it's within your budget. If it's not, maybe look at sizing down to pick 4s or pick 3s.
Yeah, like for example, and this is just from personal experience, I end up with a lot of like $54 pick 5s. Like, it's just like a number that I see a lot, right? And if you want to place $60 into it, then yeah, find your 2 best opinions in that ticket, single both of them, cut that ticket down, and press it. Like, it doesn't. You don't have to make it into rocket science and be like, hey, like you can get deep enough. Like, Steven's got a spreadsheet out there where you can see exactly how much money you have into each horse, right? If you want to get that granular, you can. Me personally, I'm like, all right, what are my 2 best opinions on the card? Let's single these. Let's try and press these. Or what's my best opinion? And like, just keep on. You can either keep on layering it, or you can just do it once. But I don't know. I think that with that budget, you should definitely be able to, structure your tickets to where you're at least alive multiple times. But Yeah, Caesar saying that he wishes he had the pick 5 for 50 cents today.
Don't we all?
Oh man, but yeah, well, more to come on structure. I know Mark and I have been talking about doing another video, and maybe just doing something joint because I do things differently than he does, and there's not really a right or wrong answer. I don't think, but the way that we play both of them, it's a little different. Let's move on here to race 9. We're going a mile and the eighth on the inner turf, and we got a bunch of like MTOs, and I think got some A's. We don't have any A's. We got MTOs, but we got a lot of horses. I don't know exactly how many are actually entered, but we got a lot of horses here, and optional claimer 80,000. Looks like your short price favorite here is going to be the 2-1 on the 9 Fort Ticonderoga. I think is this one of your horses? Yes, this is a Caleb horse right here. Maiden winner, going straight into optional claiming. Caleb. Tell me you're singling this horse, right?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah, I was surprised. I will say to see the morning line on this horse because I think it's a nice colt. I think the horse is, maybe he should be the favorite. I wouldn't have grief over that. But I was thinking like 4-1. When I saw 2-1, that felt really short to me in this field. I just felt like there's a lot of other ways you could go in here. So I actually had 6 runners written down in this race that I thought looked like they could win. One of which was the favorite. And generally, when I find myself in a position where I think 6 horses can win and one of them's the favorite, it doesn't take me very long to toss out the favorite, unless I really feel strongly. So for me, I respect Fort Ticonderoga. I think this horse ran a really nice race. First off the layoff last time out, first time on turf with excellent, turf pedigree. So I mean, this horse does make sense to be sure. I think he got set up a little bit. It was a pretty quick pace that day at Belmont. This horse came from off the pace and kind of blew by a field of maidens. Speed figure came back strong on time 4-man thoroughgraph, but the price is short, and I'd like to see it again against winners. So I respect that horse, and but I think that the price is a little too short for me to really go there. Since I had 6, I'm not going to talk about all of them, but I guess I'll just highlight kind of the one that I thought was kind of unique here, which was the number 4 Analogy. So this is a horse who I think the comment line doesn't really do justice for the trip this horse had. The comment line just says carried in and bumped at the start. But I mean, if you watch the race, this horse gets completely shut off and then shuffled back to a distant last place. That was a race where they didn't go particularly fast on the front end. And this horse came from dead last to just miss by a neck. A long shot won that race. Castle Leoc, I think is the name. And then Credit Event ran second. Now, Credit Event is one of the horses that actually shut off Analogy, and I thought had a pretty clean trip in that race without a whole lot of excuse. So I'm not interested in that horse at all, really. And because it's Chad Brown, I'm sure he'll take money. But I thought Analogy had a bad trip and is coming out of some live races. Beat Balthus 2 back, who went on to crush a maiden event next time out, going 1.25 miles at Belmont. And I thought Analogy might be a horse that's a little bit sneaky here, has run all day pedigree, great turf pedigree here. I know Kendrick hasn't been great on the turf, but he did have a winner today. So new meat, new stats, new Kendrick, and I'm willing to take a shot at 10-1.
Yeah, I kind of had a similar question on this 9. On Brisnet looks good. Looks good enough to win, be a contender, but didn't seem outstanding. You think time form, he looks like a standout?
He is a standout on time form. He's probably, his last race was a 108, which is the fastest last out fig in the field. There's a few others in here who have run numbers in the 102, 103 kind of range. But if he repeats his last, he probably wins. Royal Spirit has a 107 on his last turf, his second back turf race, but you got to dig a little ways to find that one now. So the figs are strong on Fort Ticonderoga, to be sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like I said, I'll have to take a closer look. on Saturday to see where I kind of fit. I have a question mark on Fort Ticonderoga. I mean, I similar to you, Caleb. I respect the horse. I think the horse fits, but I think the price is going to be way too short for me. I kind of landed on two other horses, but I'm just going to talk about my top one. I like this 5 Summer Anthem here for Mike Maker and Tyler Gaffleone. Is going to be one of the pace setters in this race, so it's going to be forwardly placed. You saw its speed was decent today. I don't think it was an overwhelming advantage, but it did well today for sure. And I think I think he just kind of got away from himself a little bit last time out at Churchill, and once again, we saw what's been happening at Churchill. I mean, the horse was up and just tired himself out on that front end. Went pretty quick, so I'm going to give this horse another shot. Leaving Churchill, going to be forwardly placed, and I think this is going to set up nicely. I mean, if he runs back to that Keeneland race, at least on Brisnet, that looks to be a winning effort in this spot. So Summer Anthem is going to be my top pick here. Basically playing that anti-bias on the speed at Churchill, and thinking he's going to get a little bit more favorable setup in this spot here. What do you think, Nick?
So when I do, it's interesting doing this because when I cap without morning lines, and this race, now that I can see some of the morning lines, has made me super excited. Because I who does the morning line for the New York guy? I know he does a pretty good. This is going to be, I feel like there's going to be some big changes in the morning line, in my opinion, in this race. I couldn't believe that this Fort Ticonderoga is 2-1. I do think in turf races, going from maiden special weight to a win right after, I don't think is a big a fade as like in dirt races. But you guys hit on my top 2 picks. So Analogy is my top pick in here. That horse won with a really nice figure at this distance, and then closed like a freight train last out with a horrible trip. Carmouche had a win today. This is going to be my top pick here. I'm not going to talk about that because Caleb already did. Like Summer Anthem. Yeah, it's okay. Like Summer Anthem as well. It's you guys know me and my Dynaformers, so that horse I think had that race last out I think is a complete toss. I think he'll be kind of sitting in that perfect maybe first run with Tyler G. Get some good action on that horse. The one horse I do want to point out a little bit is the horse that I think is going to possibly be maybe the speed of the speed, and it's always dangerous. But and I don't know where his post is now because I think it's changed. But Forever Super with Johnny V. Marcassi, is he way outside now or is he inside?
No, he's on the rail.
Okay, so I look at this horse, and this is who I project to be the speed of this race. And I've just, a 1.8 race in New York. I just think it's always important to identify who the speed horse is and figure out who's going to be out there. This horse, in his maiden race, according to Brisnet, had a 92 speed fig. He followed that up with, I believe at Gulfstream, when they go off the turf, they go to synthetic. He had a win there. He just kind of looks like a winner. He's going to like the turf. I think this horse is going to get missed a little bit, or I'm hoping it does. So this is another horse that I would be I would not leave off my ticket. I would say that. So, and then the other horse I thought was kind of interesting is Daunt with Trevor McCarthy. He's coming out of a grade 2 Pennine Ridge. He kind of tracked and just kind of weakened in a big grade 2 race, but it just feels like this could possibly be one of those McCarthy rides where you're like, where did this horse come from? And he's just a sneaky rider where I feel like he just is always, he doesn't get the best mounts, but he's always kind of putting his horses in good spots. And when you put your horses in good spots, you always have a chance in my book. And so this is a horse where I think when they turn for home, all of a sudden a horse hits the front. And you're like, what number is that? And you're like, oh my God, that's McCarthy, right? And so I kind of like him a little bit too. I think this is a good spreading race, and there's a lot of prices that I like now that I've seen the morning line. So I'm excited for this race now that I saw that. So that's kind of where I'm standing.
Yeah, I had put a question mark on this 10. I like the 10, and I don't remember why. I honestly, I wish I had something to tell you here, but you know, I think it might have been just the fact that it looked like the horse was a closer, and it looked like last time out they tried to put the horse a little bit closer up in a step up in class, and it just didn't seem to work out for him. So I think if it goes more towards a closing run style, I think that might suit him a little better. And I think the figs on Brisnet look pretty close, and I thought you were getting a pretty decent price here. So and getting first time Lasix as well. But Caleb, any other horses you want to talk about? Because I know you said you had like 95
Yeah, I
horses.
mean, you guys covered most of them. I mean, the two that Nick touched on, albeit it was on synthetic against Florida Breds, but I think that's still worth something. And I like Daunt, as you guys have both kind of mentioned. I think that horse is pretty interesting in here, getting Lasix and blinkers for the first time. The only other horse that I think we probably need to talk a little bit about is the number 2 Royal Spirit. This is a horse that it's Todd Pletcher, size, it's really stable. The form's a little bit dirty. Got off the turf last time out at Churchill. It did not handle the dirt at all, so you can kind of. Now the Jeff Ruby Stakes. I mean, he ran okay. That race has turned out to be pretty lively with Tiz the Bomb, Tawny Port, and Rich Strike all coming back to run pretty respectably as we've seen. But the Kitten's Joy. I mean, this horse was second by a neck to Grand Sonata. Beat Coinage that day, who came back to win. If I'm not mistaken, Grand Sonata ran third or fourth, I think, in that Belmont Derby last week or 2 weeks ago. So there's some good form lines there, and this was a really nice 2-year-old and early season 3-year-old. I think it just kind of depends as far as how this horse has really developed into the middle part of his 3-year-old season for me, as far as whether I'll be interested in him or not. But if you kind of assume he maybe just isn't quite as good on the synthetic and then continue that improvement back on the turf, I think this is a horse that could make some sense. I don't think he'll get a great price on him. It looks like he's going to be your maybe third or fourth pick in this race. But that's the other horse I thought probably needs addressed in this field.
I love that. Well, real quick, I just have to mention, like Caleb, I want to know what it takes to impress you. Because you said that the horses out of that race were pretty impressive. Like, yeah, I guess it's okay. One just happened to win the Kentucky Derby, so I really don't know like what else would it take to be like very impressive or extremely impressive. But go ahead, Nick.
I was gonna say, do you guys expect the 8 or Fort Tigeronda to be the actual favorite, or who do you think will be the favorite?
This is a hard race. I think Fort Ticonderoga probably will be the favorite, but I don't think he'll be 2-1. I think he'll be 7-2, maybe. I think that the horse I just talked about, Royal Spirit, is going to take some money to be sure. And I think a couple of the 10-1 horses that are kind of sneaking in here are going to be more like 6 or 8-1. So I don't think we'll see anybody at 2-1 in this field. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it be Royal Spirit flip-flop a Fort Ticonderoga for favoritism, but if it's not one of those two, I'd be surprised.
All right, let's keep going. We got the Sanford, 6 furlongs. Well, actually, real quick, let's highlight some of these. Yeah, so Caesar, I posted this earlier, but Caesar said Analogy came home in sub 12 seconds on that last furlong. So that's and that's definitely closing like a freight train there. PDT likes the 1 and the 8 here with a little bit of 9. So that is Senna the Wise.
Senna.
Senna the Wise, yeah. Parquetry. Isn't that like horse like
Parquetry? You're thinking of Parquetry? I don't know.
Yeah, Parquetry, yeah.
It's a Dynaformer, I know that.
Yeah. Oh, you got all those Temple Cities, on a list somewhere.
I just I don't know. I don't know if it's just I think it was when I first started handicapping. One of my best friends who got me into this told me dynaformers going long on the turf, and it just seemed like I hit right away in the beginning, and now I just love them. And honestly, they do well. Candace today is a dynaformer; she won, so it's just a great breeding.
And then Jay kind of likes the 2 Royal Spirit, the 5 Summer Anthem Daunt. He likes the only one he really didn't talk about was the 11 here, Wolf Country. I kind of looked at this one a little bit, and then I realized that he's not run on the turf yet. But it's Migdalia de Oro, so I think we'll take to the turf fine. But I got excited because I saw those speed figures. I was like, this horse is gonna be fit right in. But going turf to dirt or dirt to turf here for Kenny McPeak. Well, I don't know. Lately, he's
McPeak's been hot lately.
yeah, he's been hot lately. So maybe maybe
Yeah.
Jay's on to something here.
I mean,
He had a
this horse-
24-1 run second today at Saratoga in that turf, the race 8. So Lady Poochie that he just claimed or
I'm
bought. I
getting
don't know.
some classic Causeway PTSD with this horse.
Oh, his post positions are off. Disregard his race.
Yeah,
name.
I think there's 2 different sets of couple entries in this race, so it's kind of wonky.
Oh, you know what? So he probably likes the 3.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
he likes
Faro
the 3.
Super.
He likes the 3 and the 9 because that's Super and Fort Ticonderoga, and then he likes Daunt. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, I was like, man, PDT just
Taking
like
some shots.
hitting the soy sauce, man. But all right, let's. Yeah, and Jay pointed out that Wolf Country changed trainers and improved tremendously. So, yeah, McPeak has been hot. But yeah, let's move on to the Sanford. If there's anything that I know Caleb loves more besides turf marathons, it's early 2-year-old stakes races. And we got a field of 12 here. I mean, this is just going to make your day, Caleb. I just know. I mean, you got what 9 of these are maiden breakers last out. So I mean, you have so many choices of your favorite type of horse. But I guess I'll get us started on this one. I kind of landed on 2 horses in this spot, but I don't know. I really like this Andiamo a Firenze. I think this is going to be my top pick here. Did win in the state bred in the slop, so I guess you kind of got to put a question mark on that last one. But at least the pace figures in this horse look like this might be the speed of the speed in this race. You get Jose Ortiz getting the board, and I trust Jose to get this horse on the engine here. And usually in these races, I like to take a horse that's past other horses, but they're kind of few and far between in this race. I mean, maybe you look at like someone like the 6 Mo Strike, or the favorite Forte, but that 5 furlong race didn't come back that fast on Briz. Maybe if I look at a different product, my mind will change greatly. And is listed as an S type, but I don't know. The horse just won by so many lengths. Like I don't know what he beat in that race. So, I'm going to take a stand against the favorite. So I kind of like the 9 here. And I like the 12 a little bit, but I'll let Nick. I'll let you take this one. What do you like in this race?
So, I watched Forte's debut, and I just thought that he looked really good. A lot of people compare him to Witt last year, and I just think that's a mistake. Witt did not break, and he kind of just like closed in on a big field. Forte, to me, the way IRAD wrote him, looks like I know he's listed an S like you said, but I think he's kind of like an EPP to me, where I think he is a really professional runner. And I think that, to me, he's getting ready to run a big race, in my opinion. And he had a bullet work 2 back, a nice maintenance work. 58-1 or 5 furlongs is, especially off a 46.5. It wasn't like it's not like somebody went out there and everyone just kind of puked. I do like where he won by 7 lengths and the second place winner won by 8 lengths, it looks like. I mean, they really separated from the field. So he's my top choice. Obviously, he's going to be the favorite. So, I mean, there's not much to stay there. I do think there's another Pletcher in here, Major Dude. Bolta Oros have been hot. I know there might be some people that like him. I guess, like, for me, it's kind of like if I'm making a stand. Like, if I'm going to take Forte, I'm not going to mess around with the other Pletcher. The other horse I was really interested in, because I would look at this like, I think Forte is the best horse. So then I'm thinking, how do you get beat if you're the best horse? Which is usually, what if someone just gets loose and he just doesn't run well, or he breaks slow or something? So for me, the Curly Jack, the Tom Amos horse with Tyler Gaff up, I think, based off what I'm looking at, especially knowing Amos horses, I think this is your speed. Or they're going to try to go out. I know Amos always loves just go to the front, let him run. And so to me, he ran a pretty good race. He already ran 5.5 furlongs at Churchill, which Good Magic was a precocious 2-year-old. So I'm kind of looking at this like he kind of drew away at 5.5. I mean, if he gets to that front and maybe he doesn't stop and he's going to make Forte come catch him, that was the other interesting horse that I kind of liked in this bunch. It's hard. This is a hard race. It's very interesting. There was 12 horses on a little stat here. This field drew 12 2-year-old in a stakes race. There was a maiden special weight supposed to be on the same day that didn't even fill for 2-year-olds. So it's just kind of odd that 12 of them show up here, and we have a maiden special weight at Saratoga for 2-year-olds that didn't even fill. But it's kind of where I'm at. Caleb?
Yeah, I see the race pretty similar to you, Nick. Forte, I go back and forth on this horse. I think he's the horse to beat. I agree with you on that angle. I think he had a really, really, really strong rail that day at Belmont on May 27th. So that's kind of my hesitation with him, is how much was he really flattered by that golden rail. Both, I think the winner and second place horse both took advantage of that, which is why you see some of those strung out fields. But a 7-length win is a 7-length win. And when the second place horse is clear by 8, then, bias or not, that's a nice race. So I think Forte is a horse that I have to use, but instead of perhaps singling him, I'm probably going to use others simply because I'm not sure how much he was aided by that bias that day. I agree with you on Curly Jack. I think that he's the horse that I think might be able to get loose. They said Amos did say that they were training him to get in behind horses and take some kickback and whatnot. So I'm a little afraid they might try to rate this horse. I would much rather just see them send this horse full on, but he's one I'm going to use. As far as Josh's pick, Andiamo Afrenze, I'm going to let this horse beat me, I think, as the second choice in this race, but does have the fastest fig. I think he was just a little bit flattered by the track that day. I mean, he catches a sloppy sealed track. He's a Speightstown. He's supposed to handle that track better than most others. He got the lead from the rail. It was pretty much game over. And I'm not sure there was a ton behind him in that New York bred race. So he's one at a shorter price. I'll probably let beat me. The other horse that I am interested in that we haven't really talked about is one that Jay brings up. And I think Caesar may have brought it up as well, actually, is the number 12 Valenzen Day.
I also brought it up, jackass.
I don't think you said it. But yeah, this is a horse that I think looks good. One debut at first asking, which you always like to see. Rudy doesn't do great work with firsters. He's okay, but not excellent. And this horse won convincingly, rating just off, dueling, and then putting away the competition. The second place horse was 13 lengths clear that day, so they were clearly the top two by a mile. And then, as everyone in chat has kind of pointed out, this horse had trouble last time. He kind of broke a little bit slow. He had a check back. Rosario didn't ask him for any speed early. He made a run late. He had to steady at the 3/8 pole. He was pretty wide on the course that day. And I think that's just a forgivable effort. I think he got a good learning experience out of that. And I think he's one that could step forward in this third start here. and where some of these other horses may have to deal with adversity for the first time. So I think he's a horse that's pretty interesting for me as well. So yeah, it was Dave, not Caesar. So yeah, Valenzen, Day, and Curly Jack and Forte are the three I'm probably going to use the most of.
Yeah, I like the 12. But you just disregarded everything I said, just like usual. Caleb, thank you.
I mean, Mark's not here, so somebody.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that I would point out, and it looks like Rosario had his choice on Valenzen Day over this Dutrow horse, this I'm Wide Awake that Pratt's getting on. But Dutrow and Pratt are, I know that since Pratt's been over here, there hasn't been a lot, but I mean, they're at 75% in 4 races, so 3 for 4. I think he's like a huge price. And so all I'm saying is, like, if you decide you're against Forte or you decide you're going to spread, I think this is a great horse to add in, just because you would hate yourself if you decide to spread and you missed on Pratt at 20-1. So I think just putting it out there that when you see I know at the end of Belmont there, when Pratt was getting on Dutcher horses, like, again, they're 3 for 4 right now. So, I mean, maybe Rosario got off or maybe Pratt got on. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think if you decide to spread, this is a horse you definitely don't want to not have.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. Dutrow's been live with a few of his first-time starters so far this year, which is unusual for him. So I think this is a special horse. I think this is a tough spot, but at 20-1, I think it's worth paying to find out. Did anyone take a look at the 3? That's the other horse that I kind of had marked down as probably beat nothing. Was 17-1 that day. He wasn't supposed to be this good, but ran a really strong race. On Third time form. I mean, Brisnet. The race came back strong. It is a big stretch out here, from 4.5 to 6. But does anyone give Great Navigator any shake in here at all?
I've literally never heard of Sea Wizard.
It's out of Uncle Mo.
Oh, he is a New Jersey bred. Wow.
It's interesting. He's 12-1 on the morning line. So I didn't give much look to him. But when you mention it, you look at a horse like this, again, to me, this is like where you decide where, look, I'm probably going shorter here. I'm just really confident in Forte, but let's say you're not. I mean, if you're trying to beat horses, we talked about structure, you want to include the horses like this that I bet he will float up on the day of, is my guess.
Agreed. I think Dave says the same thing in chat. I think that makes sense. 12-1 on this horse compared to 20-1 on the Flavian Pratt horse. Like, I'd be surprised if those don't flip flop. That's all I had, Josh.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't even look at that horse. I was just like, oh, Monmouth. Scroll past.
Sounds like me.
Which is funny since I probably play Monmouth the most out of any of us. So, but all right. Closing leg, race 11. Mile and 16th on the turf, claiming 35,000 non-winners of 2. So this is going to be some shit. You got a short price favorite again in this race. I believe the horse Pratt's on, I think, is like 2-1, isn't it? Diva Ready the 4, and then I mean, you got a lot of prices unless this comes off, and you got the MTOs. You got a couple short prices there, but Caleb, close us out. Who do you like here?
Nobody. That's my problem. This is a hard race for me. I struggled here. I get why Diva Ready is the favorite in this field because it's a pretty hungry field. There's a lot of horses that are 1 for 13, 1 for 15, 1 for 19, and not exactly win machines. Diva Ready sort of feels like the lightly raced 3-year-old going out for a high percentage of connections, dropping in class. She's kind of supposed to win this race. Like, I get that. I think she needs used, but this is not a horse that I would feel super confident about anchoring my tickets to. This is a horse that has kind of one good race and like one okay race at Woodbine to her name. So you're really kind of taking the fact that everybody else sucks and then the good connections here. But I think she needs used, and that's what kind of is unfortunate is that I have a hard time saying that I'm not going to use that horse because I do think it's a hungry field, and she's one of the few that has every right to improve and probably will improve on the drop. This was a tough race. I struggled looking at it because I was trying to figure out who gets the lead here. And I think that's what kind of led me to have some troubles. I mean, I think Timeform thinks that this 4 horse gets the lead. I don't know that I totally agree with that, although I think she will be forwardly placed. But there's really no clear pace setter in here. And these are the races that I struggle to handicap with when I can't get a good feel on how the pace is going to set up. I don't really know who gets the lead, much less if it's going to be a contested pace or someone else gets kind of loose. I had maybe a hunch that the 8 might get the lead with Kendrick up second off the layoff, but you know, you have to sort of wonder if that last race was just an anomaly or if that's actually a change in tactics, or maybe on the drop this horse has better gate speed. But yeah, I didn't have a strong opinion here. I respect the 4. I kind of had what the shorter priced horses are in this field. I thought the 4 made sense. I thought Bella Conchita made sense on the drop as well for Sherry DeVoe, the number 6. I don't really love the form lines, but this is a trainer who used to be an assistant to Chad Brown, and she's only dropped the horse in for a tag 8 times in the last 5 years or 3 years, and has won 4 of those times. So got to respect the numbers there. And then, despite the fact that these are not the Chad Brown horses I like to bet, I think the Chad Brown probably needs used as well, the number 9. So I had no real strong opinions. I thought the top 3 looked like the 3 you probably need to use. And if I was going to get a little deeper, I might take a look at that 8 horse I mentioned earlier with Kendrick, just thinking that she might get the lead. But this is not a race that I really am looking forward to betting.
Yeah, I mean, outside of those, the kind of the 4 and the 9 that you have already talked about, Caleb, the only real other horse I was kind of interested in was this 10, Freedom Machine. Has been running in, state bred allowance races, but last time she dropped in the Open Company, ran a pretty decent race, finishing second. So, I think that this horse fits. I think this is the right level for this horse. And I think coming off the pace, this might be the horse with just the best late kick here. You get Jose Ortiz aboard, and he's riding for a kind of a no-name trainer, which, at least for me, kind of just, sets off some flags because there's a lot of trainers in here that Jose normally rides for. So, yeah, I'm gonna take a look at this 10 horse Freedom Machine outside of, like I said, the 4 and the 9, which are the other horses that you kind of mentioned. And I see Caleb laughing, and I think it might be from Dave's comment that these are not the Chads you're looking for.
These are not the Chads you're looking for.
But Nick, what did you see here?
Yeah, you guys talked about a couple of the horses I really like. My top pick's the Manny Sherry horse. According to Brisnet, it's got some figures that runs those races, I think, is the winner in this race. Dropping in, and she went long last time, just didn't work out. So, that's my kind of top pick. I mean, again, this is going to be a defensive play for me on Diva Ready, Pratt and Thomas. I don't love this horse to say like, okay, but I'm not letting that horse beat me. But there's 2 other horses that Freedom Machine I wrote down, like you said, but like the other horse I want to kind of bring up, there's 2 of them, is the Sias horse, Noble Enterprise. And I look at this horse and I look at a race like this. One thing that is always troubled me with claiming races is finding horses. Usually in claiming races, horses don't run consistently. That's why they get claimed. They might pop one time, they get claimed, they don't run. And this horse looks to me like a horse that's kind of just, I'm not saying he's going to be consistent, but he's kind of been knocking on the door here with a second, and a third, and we're kind of second off of a layoff here. Saez just always seems to he won the meet last year. I think he's going to really put this horse in a good position, and this is a horse that I just think is like, okay, I think it could again, I don't love horses that just keep finishing second, but in a claiming race, I kind of want the horse where I think I can rely on a little bit. It was a slow pace last time and still did some running after it. And then the race before that was in a big time allowance going a mile and a half and actually still finished well. So Noble Enterprise is a horse I'm definitely going to use. And then the other horse is let's see, Raining Candy with Carmouche and Bruce Levine. So here's why I like this horse. It broke its maiden last year at Saratoga, I believe at this distance. And when I look in a race where I can't really see a clear leader and I see a horse that's won at this distance at this track, and it was in allowance races. Last time I was open company, 30,000. That was off the layoff. Now we're second off the layoff. I don't cap with morning lines, but it's a 15-1. I definitely like this horse a little bit. Just based on, look at its figure, 79 speed rating. IRAD rode that day. They liked it. At Belmont, it's not that true two-turn type races. And so I think returning back to Saratoga at this distance, I kind of like this horse at a price.
Caleb, not going to talk you off 15-1 unless it's a Mountaineer shipper.
And then 30-1 only.
Oh.
But I like that's the 8 I mentioned. The Kendrick horse I thought might be your leader. So when me and Mark agree on a horse, it's 3-5. When me and Nick agree on one, it's 15-1.
15-1. There you go. There you go. Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be a fun sequence. I'm glad Saratoga's back. We're going to get, regular big fields for a while. Next week we'll get the return of Del Mar. I know Papa Knight's probably excited for that.
Yes.
But and then we're only a month out, Caleb,
from Alabama.
From Alabama.
Yeah,
right?
I think we get there on the 17th, so it'll be a month and like 3 days. Yeah.
Yeah. So
come say hi if you're up there for. We'll be there all week.
Yeah, we'll be there all week. Mark is there all the time. I'm sure Mr. Who's Got the Action, Andrew Capone will be up there. So we'll have a good old time there. I don't know, Nick, did you take a look at Friday's stakes races at all?
Yeah, I looked at a few of them.
I know, also, like race. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I was gonna say also too. I'll be at Del Mar on Pacific Classic Day, so very exciting for that. Flightline hopefully will be running in that race, and it's a good day. So, if anybody's at the Del Mar on Pacific Classic Day, let me know.
Congratulations to defending champion Tripoli on winning the Pacific Classic once again against Flightline.
I watched that in the rental car outside your hotel at Saratoga. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I loved Tripoli last year. That was one of my best wins I've had in a long time. Yes.
Oh, good for you,
dude. Some of the best watching races happened in that rental car.
It did on the cell phone in the rental car.
Your dad hitting that pick 5 and then just watching those other races in the car. That's so funny. Oh man. But I don't know. Race 8's the Coronation Cup. We're gonna be going 5.5 furlongs here on the turf tomorrow. And you got your did I skip over? That shitty ass Wesley Ward horse that I always try to beat is running in this race. Is it Twilight Gleaming? Yep. The 3, Twilight Gleaming, who has not lost the race except the one time I bet on her in Ascot. So it's going to be 2-1 in this spot, and you got a couple. You got Dairy Nane coming back here after losing as a favorite at even money at Laurel. But you got a big field here. You got 11 listed. You got 1 MTO. We do got to carry over tomorrow, and this is going to be part of the sequence. So, Nick, where did you kind of see this race going?
All right, so Twilight Gleaming is I never get her right. Got beat last year in the Breeders' Cup. Better in that Keeneland race, she loses. Bet against her in the Churchill Dillons race, she wins. But I think I'm just going to stick to my guns here. And I just watching the races at Saratoga today with these big fields and these 5.5 furlong sprints. No one's been there in a while. I'm going to try to beat her again. So I went to the 7, the Frenchie, Julien Leparoux and Static Fire. Brian Lynch is my top pick. So this horse broke its maiden at this distance at Saratoga last year, won big, and we don't see it forever, and it comes back in dirt and beats On the Ones and Twos, who beat Tarabi, who then came back to win today at Saratoga in a listed stakes. And this horse it's going to be its second race at 3. I know it's going to like the turf. It looks fast. I want Julie. The only time I ever want Julian is on the lead. I think she's going to be on the lead, and I'm getting a good price. And I really like Static Fire. I think it's just a quality horse who I can just count on. So that was my top pick, kind of. I do think that the 10 needs a little mention. Mystic Eyes, Saez Pletcher. This horse had ran a lot of good races last year, and then showed up at Churchill, and we know that turf was kind of weird, and just ran the worst race ever. And I just sometimes when you think that doesn't make any sense, you just toss it out. And if you get Pletcher and Saez at 15-1, I mean, I'm not, I think that's just why I would always include this horse. It could be on the lead, and I look in these 5.5 furlong races. I mean, typically I like forward horses, that horse either on the lead or that's just going to be that first run. So I like the 10. And then another horse right outside of it is the 11, Jonathan Thomas. I love him as a trainer. He's putting Johnny V on this horse. Classic Empire, $400,000 purchase off a $17,000 sire fee. Broke its maiden at Woodbine. Really nice fig. Won big. I just think they might think this is just a really nice horse. So I kind of look these other horses in here, they've all done really well, but those are where I landed with some prices and just where I kind of feel those 3 horses are my top kind of 3 picks here. What did you guys think?
Well, I guess so. It's interesting that you say that the only time you like Julien Leparoux is when he's on the lead, because he never gets the lead. So I guess I guess
Causeway.
Yeah, I guess that 5% times he gets the lead, that's when you want him. And second of all, I don't know why, but when you said Mystic Eyes, all I could think of was Hall Notes. All right, so the little private eyes, but yeah, I'm sure if Keep Pounding is watching, he will give me shit. But I'd like the 6 Dairy Nane here. Going back to the Dairy Nane well, I mean, should have won that last one, but if there's as much speed in here as I think, and I know it's a 5.5 furlong turf sprint. Hoping that these melt down is just hoping that you're gonna shit out like a golden egg or something. But yeah, I don't know. Going from a pace perspective, I kind of wanted something from coming off the pace. You get Rosario aboard, and Rosario's been aboard the best races that this horse has run. So I'll put a line through Jaime Rodriguez's attempt last time at riding this horse, and I'm going to give Dairy Nane another shot at 5-1. Yeah, I'm going to try and fade Twilight Gleaming again, and I'm sure this is probably what kills my ticket. Very Caleb-esque, if you will. But yeah, I mean, it just seemed like there was a ton of speed signed up in here, and I was just trying to find somebody that didn't need the lead. I mean, maybe you can make a case for someone like the 8, possibly sitting off. Did Fire a Bullet work in last week? But I don't know, Caleb, what did you see?
Yes, I mean, I think you guys all bring up good points. I think you all might be selling Twilight Gleaming perhaps a little too short, as I do think she's probably the horse to beat in this race. But I understand looking to take shots against the favorites. I mean, who gets beat by favorites more than I do? So I respect. I actually like your pick of Static Fire, Nick. I think that horse is really interesting. Clearly handles dirt and turf. So I think the fact that I put her back in this spot clearly means that she's pretty well meant here. to fill in Mark's buzzword of the usual stream. Mystic Eye is another one whose last race is probably too bad to be real. So I think she's interesting in here. Josh, I kind of like Diana. I'm a little afraid she's going to get overbet, but I do think she's an off the pace runner I kind of like. But yeah, I mean, I also sort of think the number 4, Artos, makes some sense because I do sort of see where you're coming from, Josh, in that these races don't usually melt, but it does feel like there's a ton of speed in here. And with Twilight Gleaming being the likely speed of speed, if you're kind of against her, then I guess you have to assume it's going to come back to the closers. And I thought Artos is a horse that showed promise at 2, went over to Ascot and ran a nice race. Was only beaten a length and 3/4 by Twilight Gleaming that day, and then came back at Gulfstream and clearly needed that start on the long layoff. But she's subtly improved in each one of her starts this year. From the Gulfstream start to Churchill up to the Laurel race. She beat Diana last out by a length and a quarter. And I think she's just sitting on a new big top effort here. I mean, I know you're not getting LaPeroux, but Lascano's, plenty serviceable in New York. So I'm thinking she might be sitting on a new effort, a new top here, and she'll need one to win, but at 10-1, I think it's worth a gamble.
I do remember Artos, if I remember correctly, on that Churchill Downs race when she made her kind of off that layoff. I think she was like 30-1, or she was a really big price and got bet way down to that 12-1, if I remember. So yeah, I think that this looks like a horse that's kind of like ready to strike. Third off the layoff.
Yeah, I want to beat Twilight Gleaming, and I'm sure I'm going to pay for it. Lastly, we got the Forbidden Apple real quick before we sign off. I kind of wanted to touch on this race just because a horse that's made me a lot of money is in here. But your favorite's going to be, it looks like the 1 Set Piece is going to be your favorite here with Mirror Mission, a close second. And I really, I don't think I'm going to take either of them in this spot. And I think I'm going to go back to the Wolfie's Dynaghost here at 15-1. Has run the last 2 times at this 1 mile on the turf. But I think this horse has run some pretty nice races in these G3 type races at a mile on the turf at both Gulfstream and Belmont. Now the poker came back a little slow, but Mason won that race, and Mason's a pretty decent horse there. So I don't know. I'm gonna take another shot here. Wolfie's Dynaghost. Gonna see this horse on the lead, and I think we're gonna get a honest effort out of Wolfie's Dynaghost at 15-1. We'll see what kind of price we get on this horse, because I feel like Saya's on a speed horse at Saratoga might get bet down a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, Set Piece finally kind of seems to round back into form, but end of last year, beginning of this year did not look that great. So did win a dinner party at Pimlico, is cutting back to the mile, but is really only 2 for 8 at a mile distance. So I don't know, I feel like it's a short price to kind of avoid, at least at this spot. I might be a little bit more interested in a horse like Mirror Mission on the cutback. But Nick, what did you see here?
Yeah, so I'm excited for this race, and the reason because I don't like Set Piece at all. I try to beat this horse every time he runs, and I've been successful a few times. I do know that he's kind of cutting down, he's cutting back, and he's getting some class relief. So I understand that he's got a good. At Saratoga, I always think it's important to be in those good posts. So, I mean, he's going to be tough to beat, but I don't like him for what his price will be. And then Mirror Mission, I actually think the cutback, my personal opinion, I like her going longer, or him going longer. So I think the cutback, I don't understand it. So, and I look at those 2 horses, kind of your 2 favorites. And when I see that, I'm like, okay, let's get on this race. Um, my I go outside and I just look at like, all right, I see some Chad Browns at 15-1 and 6-1. Public sector is 3-0, 3 for 3, 3-0 at Saratoga. And if I get Chad and Irad on a horse that's never been beaten on the track, I'm definitely using him. I do think something's interesting, like as a handicapping note, when horses go from Belmont to Saratoga, I like to look at where they had their success at. So Belmont, if you know, like at these distances, they're either one turn or that weird mile and a 16th. And then Saratoga is these true 2-turn races. And so I think horses who at Saratoga can be really good, then struggle at Belmont and vice versa. So I think that's something just from a handicap being able to kind of look at, just try to look back in their history, 10 races back, 4 races back, and just look where they had success. And public sector to me is third off the layoff, horse who's 3-0 at the track. And I'm getting a connection like Chad and Irad. I definitely am going to include him. My top pick, though, kind of buried the lead there, is Atone, number 8. Maker, Pratt. This horse has consistently run some really good speed figures. It's dropping in class, and I think a mile is its best distance. So last 3 races at a mile, it was in a grade 1 Maker's Mark, lost by a length to Masons, Cheryl Spite, Smooth Like Straight. Before that, won at Aqueduct, and before that, won on this track at Saratoga. So Pratt, coming from California, had a lot of steam, and I think he's come over here and realized, like, obviously this is just a better jockey colony. And I think he's starting his agent. I'm sure they're starting to make some connections, but he's still he's a great rider, and he's a great turf rider. And if I'm getting Maker, who last year started this meet out really hot, he had a win already today. I love 6-1 Maker Pratt, and I love 6-1 Chad Irad. And then the only other horse I'm going to mention is Cassie and Castellano in the 9, Grit Smokin'. This is my speed horse. This horse, I've hit on this horse before. I love this horse. He's coming back from Dubai, which I don't know why they put him in a 6-furlong race there. That was just an absolute terrible choice. And now I get him second off the layoff. He's the speed of the speed. He's going to be a price. I love this horse. So this is a great betting race in my opinion, because I hate the 2 favorites, and I like some prices on the outside with some really good connections and really good reason why they should run well.
Yeah, and I do want to note that Get Smoking coming from Churchill Downs and just lost by a head on the lead. So I think that's, like I said, that's a trip that you got to note, and you got to kind of upgrade with the way that those horses were running. Caleb, take us home. What did you think about this race?
Yeah, I think Nick kind of stole my thunder, because the 3 horses he mentioned, Public Sector, Atone, and Get Smokin', are probably my top 3 picks. I'll probably double down on Get Smokin', even though I do think there is quite a bit of speed in here, with the likes of Wolfie's Dyna Ghost, with Saez in the inside draw, likely going to go to the lead. And then Yes and Yes on the stretch out, probably going to be forwardly placed as well. I think the last 2 races, or last 2 of the last 3 races for Get Smokin' are just too good to ignore. I mean, clearly you toss the Dubai Sprint. It just doesn't even matter. But we've talked to death the Churchill turf course. But what we haven't talked about, but if you look the numbers up, Tampa turf routes are overwhelmingly biased towards closers. It is extremely difficult to win a Tampa turf route going wire to wire. I think the number is something like 10%. Someone can look it up. But it's extremely low. And this horse did all the dirty work that day off of a huge layoff and just got nailed by Cheryl Spite, who went on to win the Maker's Mark Mile at a huge price. So, yeah, I think Get Smokin' could be just super live here. You got a hot jockey and Castellano, who picked up 3 wins today. I think he makes a ton of sense. I respect all the picks that Nick mentioned earlier. And Josh, I think you're crazy with Wolfie's Dyna Ghost, but more power to you. Of the shorter prices, I will give a look to Mira Mission. I think he ran well, and he shows up pretty much every time. getting some class relief here. And I thought that he probably had the track wasn't really against him, but it was certainly against him more than it was Santon that day. And he was six lengths clear of the third place horse. So I thought Mirror Mission made some more sense compared to a horse like Set Piece, who always takes money and just pretty frequently disappoints. So yeah, I think there's a good chance for a price here, but I do respect Mirror Mission.
Man, I totally misread that, because when Nick started talking about public sector, I had this ready. But apparently this was unwarranted. But I don't know. Public sector cost me a ton of money when he won at where was it, at Arlington. I think he won like the Secretariat, didn't he? No, maybe not. I'm thinking a different horse. Valid Point is who I'm thinking of, not public sector. Valid Point.
Was that the day that Chad won 4 straight races or something like that? Or
yeah.
So I was like,
yep. And I only faded him once, and it was fucking Valid Point was when I faded him. Oh, I remember now. The horse that the Diana horse I was thinking of was Homerique. Homerique came third to Sister Charlie in that race. Sister Charlie won pretty convincingly, and Homerique finished third. Second, and Rushing Fall finished second. Thace was also in that race. So we had the right race. It's just I was on the other horse. I was on Homerique. But Nick, thank you so much, man, for coming on with us. I hope this was a fun experience, and
it was amazing. Thank you for having me, and this was so fun. Like I said, I'm a bullpen catcher. Anytime you need me, call me up.
Yeah, we might need to call you up for Saturday, but that's gonna be kind of early. But I'll message you. But we'll be doing our Saturday stream again this week. Mark is planning on being on site, on track, so we'll see how that works out. But and then I think Caleb is planning on being out of the state. So, but we'll be doing our stream, and I will tell you what time. I just gotta look at the post time on Saturday. But basically, we're going to aim for 1 hour before post on at Saratoga. So we'll be live around noon Eastern, 11 o'clock Central. So and we'll just basically be doing the same thing we did last week. We'll be taking a look at the Saratoga early. We'll be kind of revising, see how the weather is, see if we're off the turf, and kind of revising some of the picks we made for the late. Maybe talk a little bit more structure. I know Saturday was asking some structure questions, so that might be a good time to bring up structure. Or if you guys want to post tickets or anything like that, and see how we would change it or how things would play out. Let Caleb talk you off a horse at 30-1. I mean, it'll be a great time. We had fun doing it last week. It seemed like everyone liked it, so we'll be doing it again this week, and for the rest of the summer. So. For Mark, who is supposed to be busy entertaining Clamps in Saratoga, but Clamps was messaging me, asking me what the name of the bar that we went to last time was. So I think Mark ditched him. But for Mark and Brian, Caleb, Nick, I'm Josh. You can catch us at ontherwronglead.com. Obviously, our YouTube here, at wrong_lead on Twitter. Buy T-shirts. I mean, do whatever you want. But we'll catch you guys Saturday.